Snow White, the 2025 live-action remake of the 1937 first Disney animated classic, directed by Mark Webb, director of the amazing director of the less than amazing Spider-Man duology, and tells the story of Princess Snow White, who is orphaned and been living under the reign of her stepmother, the Queen, after the Queen orders Snow White's execution by a huntsman. Snow White flees into the forest, meets not only the seven dwarves in this version, but Jonathan, who is not the prince, and a group of bandits who very much follow Snow White's father, the king, and Snow White leads the dwarves and the bandits and her people to overthrow the queen and get back their good and kind-hearted kingdom that they once has. OMG, guys! After 3 years of of nothing but fan backlash and extreme controversy ever since filming wrapped up for this remake in summer 2022, because this remake was originally greenlit in 2016, nearly 10 years ago, believe it or not, and it was initially going to come a year ago, but of course, due to the Hollywood actors and writers strike, Disney pushed it back a year to this March. We are now here, and I get to share my thoughts on one of the most universally despised movies in existence before it's even been released. I have rarely seen this much hatred for a movie in my entire 29 years of life, and that was due to Rachel Zegler's comments about the original film that didn't help.
Your version of Snow White is different, and it's more of a 2022 version of Snow White. What did you mean by that?
I mean, the original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her.
Yeah.
Weird.
Weird.
So we didn't do that this time.
Though I did defend her back in 2023, and I still stand by that defense video, although as you all know, my takes on the Disney live action remakes may seem biased, as I would rather Disney would not do these remakes and would give us, timeless and beautiful animated classics like they did in the olden days, instead of retelling the classics in live action for the new generation, because the original 1937 Snow White is nearly 19 years old, and it has aged like fine wine, infinitely better than any of the modern 2010s Snow White movies that people forgot about in a flash. And so reviewing this film, I feel like the fate of my channel is going to be at stake. Whether I know so many of you want me to say that this remake sucks and deserves to be the biggest movie bomb in history, but I am pleasantly surprised to say I didn't hate this remake. I kind of liked it to an extent. Please don't hurt me, don't hurt me. To any fans of the original 1937 Snow White, my deepest apologies if that statement offends you, but I am not saying that this remake is a patch on the original animated Snow White, because it ain't. It is undoubtedly inferior in comparison, but no movie version of Snow White will ever top Walt Disney's first ever groundbreaking animated feature. But even with all the reshoots and the controversies, I think Snow White is one of the better, more harmless Disney remakes. Heck, Mufasa the Lion King is far worse than this. Far far worse. How does that get a pass and this doesn't? Yeah, I do wish the live action CGI Lion King movies would get the level of hate that Snow White 2025 gets, but now let's dig through this review. We'll dig and get to the nitpicks too. So right off the bat, Rachel Zegler as Snow White. Whether you agree with her opinion on the original Snow White or not, so you can't deny she is a decent Snow White. She out sings and out acts the entire cast in every single scene because she is a natural singer, and whenever she sings, it sounds heavenly. Heck, I'd say her acting exceeds that of Hailey Berry as Ariel in Little Mermaid remake. So they cast somebody as Snow White that can sing. So props to Disney for that. This is Mark Webb's best movie by a long shot. It's better than both Amazing Spider-Man movies combined because, yeah, you could. I mean, he at least didn't make a shot-for-shot remake of Snow White. So he at least added some change, and there are some surprises in this movie that never happened in the original story, and there are some things to spoil. So this remake has that going for it, and Gal Gadot as the Queen, she's underrated. Don't listen to the reviews that say she's out of place because you can see she's having the time of her life playing evil, and she, well, yeah, and she eats and devours her song "All Is Fair," which is one of the best of the new added songs. As a modern Disney villain song, it sounds more like "This Is the Thanks I Get from Wish," and it kicks the crap out of "Bye Bye" from Mufasa the Lion King. And the CG animals will make you go googly-eyed and go "ah," because like in the original, they are sweet. They do manage to emote a little, and even when they do the opening of the Snow White book, in the opening and closing of the film, we see a CG hedgehog just make himself at home on the book. It's so sweet. This is one of the shorter Disney remakes, so at least it's not overly dragged out to 2 hours. It's at an hour and 45 minutes. It's paced considerably faster and brisker than the others. At least I can say I wasn't checking my watch, and uh, also some of the other new songs aside from "All Is Fair," "When the Good Things Grow." I mean, that was a rather heartwarming number that does uh, give you hope that when you focus on the good, that the good will grow, and they do focus far more on the kingdom aspect in this one than in comparison to the original, where in the original it was just the kingdom literally was just Snow White, the Queen, and the Mirror, and the prince who showed up, no other subjects. But in this one, we also see Snow White, give a little. But in this one, we also see Snow White befriend one of the village girls by giving her a crown made of flowers, showing that Snow White is an inspiring symbol of hope and the queen the kingdom deserves. And uh, I uh, I also did sing along to "Waiting on a Wish." Rachel Zegler sang it exceptionally well, even if it is a bummer that they cut out the "Wishing Well" song from the original and the Prince's song "One Song." Like I said, this remake is neither the fairest nor the ugliest of them all. So let's get to the uglier side of this movie in the negatives. The dwarves, yep, you guessed it. They are the one thing this remake ruined more than anything. They look dreadful. I have no idea why Disney just didn't use the camera technique on the Hobbit trilogy, where Peter Jackson used forced perspective to make the dwarf actors who were regular heights look shorter than the taller characters. That would have worked infinitely better for the Snow White remake than ugly CG dwarves. There's no sugarcoating it, and I I hate is the new rendition of Hi Ho and We and Dig 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 and and the new rendition of Whistle While You Work, I have mixed feelings on. Rachel Zegler kept it afloat, but I don't like the change of making Snow White, well, force the dwarves to clean the house. So, like, I liked it better when she and the animals cleaned the house before the dwarves came home in the original, and to see the dwarves' reaction to their home being cleaned was so much more charming. Jonathan is not the prince, but the bandit leader this time, and uh, so uh, they Rachel Zegler said in the press and interviews this wasn't a love story, but it still feels like a love story between her and Jonathan. But Jonathan is not strong enough to as a counterpart to uh, Rachel Zegler's Snow White. So he is completely bland, and even though the huntsman gets a larger role and more screen time, he's blander too and barely gets more characterization than what he had in the original. And you know that photo of what we thought was going to be the dwarves that was leaked on social media? Well, they are the bandits. In really undermined the dwarves and made them less important in this version than they were in the original. Also, they made Dopey talk. Just shut up. That is so disrespectful to his character, and it turns out it's revealed that Dopey is the narrator of the story the entire time. The charm of Dopey was that he never spoke a word, but he didn't need to. So why would they make him talk all of a sudden out of nowhere? Snow White in this version, she idolizes her father and is determined to find out if her father is alive, even though it's revealed the Queen did indeed kill her father when he left her before he gave her the necklace. But Snow White barely mentions her mother. I do think they could have mentioned the Queen a little more as Snow White's motivation to become the queen she was destined to be, as well as her father. And this version feels, amazingly less darker and more sugar coated than the original. Like, the Queen's transformation into the Witcher isn't a quarter as terrifying as it was in the original. Queen's transformation in the original is still nightmare fuel when she becomes the old crone, and still one of the scariest things Disney has ever done. So how is this version rated PG and the original only rated U? It should be swapped. And Snow White's succumbing to the curse of the poisoned apple. It's not the true climax of this version of the story. It's there is another climax after that feels it's building to something epic, and it's the opposite of epic. It is resolved far too easily. And you're like, oh, Snow White, I thought you said it wasn't going to be easy. So overall, even though people are continuing to nuke this movie uh, and and are not even going to try to see it in a positive light, I myself didn't have an awful time watching it, given it had the galaxy against it. So it's could have been so much worse. I give Snow White a 2025. I can't believe I'm saying this, but 3 stars out of 5. Good movie. Oh man, I can see the comment section just berating me with comments saying, Harry, why were you so generous to this one? But but I'm sure that's I'm not going to be the only one to find liquors of enjoyment in this modern Snow White version. Well, I love you guys. Thank you for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this review. And what are your thoughts on Snow White 2025? Please comment and let me know. Please like this video and subscribe. Please follow us on Instagram. And I'll see you next time when I rank the Snow White movies from 1937 to 2025. And remember, movies are us. Bye, guys.